The Minnesota Vikings have found themselves in a very bad spot with some injury updates in the special teams. We're going to be talking about that, how bad this could be for the Minnesota Vikings, as well as tight end Josh Oliver has been praised by Wes Philips and the entire Vikings staff about his play. We're going to be touching on all of this, a little bit of positive news, but a lot to go over, and a lot of concerning updates for the Minnesota Vikings here in this video. Now, before we get into it, we notice that 91% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed to the channel. If you're looking for a spot to get all of your Minnesota Vikings news, you're in the right spot. Hit the sub button, join us here on the channel. We're covering everything Vikings, and you will not want to miss what we had to bring you. But we need to get into this, Griffen. This is a pretty concerning update here on the special teams. We have some very, very tough injury updates. And I'm sure you guys probably know about one, but another one is a very kind of out of the nowhere one. And I'm going to pull up our first screenshot. We can't waste any time. We need to get into this. And this is from Mike Garofalo. The Vikings are signing free agent kicker John Parker Romo, sources tell me, and Tom Pelissero, a former undrafted free agent with the Saints. Romo was in Minnesota this offseason and now set to make his NFL regular season debut with the team. And I'm sure you all know what that means, that Will Reichard, the injury that we had seen over the weekend, has landed him on the IR and will miss at least 4 games. Now, this is one that we all really hoped was not going to be the case. We were hoping that Will Reichard was just kind of stiff or sore or something like that, something that wasn't too major, but he is now out 4 games, missing his first 2 kicks over the weekend. We knew something was off immediately when we had seen that. So, Griffen, what are your immediate thoughts on this? I know this is one thing that we really were hoping that we wouldn't have to talk about today.
Yeah, first off, hope that he's able to get back on the field as soon as possible and make a great recovery. Hope for nothing but the best for our rookie kicker, who is having a phenomenal breakout year, has gained the trust of his entire team. Everyone just knew whenever he would step on the field that it was almost a sure thing he was going to hit one. So when he did miss those 2 on Sunday night, it was very alarming, where clearly something wasn't right. He was limping after a few of them and even after the kickoff. So initially we thought, okay, maybe it's not so serious, but it's clearly something's up. And now, unfortunately, almost the worst news we could have had, where he is going on the IR, so at least 4 games without him. Now this guy has to step in. Maybe he is going to be another good one who can just solve this problem. But again, this is going to be a lot of trust that they're going to have to put in. I could see us going for 2 a lot in the coming games, just until we establish that trust with this new kicker, and to make sure that, hey, we're not trying to be a liability at any point. We've got to get points when we can have them, especially when the Lions are just scoring as much as they have been. Maybe we got to start being a little bit ballsy on those extra points when we can afford them. Don't get them in the situations where those are points that we just end up losing, and that loses us the game, where we don't get the 2 points. But if we're in a position where we can go for the 2 points and just get that swing, definitely go for it instead of having to rely on an inexperienced kicker who is just getting to Minnesota. So he's going to have to knock some rust off. So I think for the next week, especially against the Jacksonville team where they're going to be hurting a little bit, try out those 2-point conversions and see how it goes.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth there. I was going to say, especially against the Jaguars, we really need to establish a connection here first. We know that won't come right away because we also have a bit more bad news, but we're going to go into this as well. Ian Rappaport, Will Reichard, one of the best on the NFL, is head of the IR for a bit of confirmation there. But going into that as well, head coach Kevin O'Connell told the media that former All-Pro long snapper Andrew DePaola will need a procedure on his hand and is a candidate for a short-term injury reserve. There will also be potential in the market for a kicker, as Will Reichard is still being evaluated for the quad injury. And now we have that second half sorted out, but another major hit to this special teams, one of the best units in the NFL, one of the best as we've seen. No missed field goals, no missed extra points until this most recent game. And that's not coming from Andrew DePaola's side. That was obviously from the injured Will Reichard. And hopefully, as you said, he returns as soon as possible. Hopefully, he comes fully back. But this is another major hit. We've seen Andrew DePaola all-pro the past few seasons, Pro Bowl the last, I think 2 or 3 seasons. I can't recall the exact number, but he's one of the best in the NFL as well when it comes to this. So we are definitely going to need to experiment on the 2 points. We're going to need to experiment on any opportunity to go for it. We're going to have to, because right away, the connection is not going to be there. These guys are still professionals. We're going to have quite a few different moves to make here as well, but they're still professionals. But, the chemistry is a big thing for your kickers, for your long snappers, and everything. It comes down to the snap of a finger, the blink of an eye, whatever you want to call it, that the slightest thing goes wrong, it could go very, very south. And the Vikings are still in not a win now mode, but they want to get as many wins as possible here, and they'll in the stretch. And this is going to be a big part of those 1-score, 2-score games that you're going to need to get the kickers activated. So going on, before I get to you, Griffen, as well, the Vikings are expected to sign former Lion and Bears long snapper Jake McQuaide per Mike Garofalo, and Andrew DePaola is expected to be placed on the short-term IR. So two major hits, but as you mentioned, continuing on what you had to say, what do you think about this loss as well? And obviously, a kicker is one thing. A kicker can kind of come in and get used to it, but the timing from your new kicker to your new long snapper, and luckily we still have Ryan Wright holding the ball. What do you think this will do? And obviously, how will it continue off with the needed extra needed 2-point conversions?
Just goes to show that when it rains, it pours in Minnesota. This is nothing new for Vikings fans. We know that injuries tend to pile up throughout the season, especially at critical positions when players are doing well. We saw it happen with Kirk Cousins last year. We saw it happen with Justin Jefferson. Now we're seeing it with also TJ Hawkinson was another one, of course. But now we're seeing it with Will Reichard after he's having a phenomenal rookie season. And now Andrew DePaola, who is our all-pro long snapper. He's been one of our anchor, really, of that field goal unit. And now not only do we have to adjust to a new kicker, now a new long snapper. So just like you said, it's even more reason why we got to try the two-point conversions. And if we're trusting them with a field goal, make it a short one just to get their confidence going. Don't make it some real long one, preferably under 35 yards. That would be like the ideal one, just to make sure they can get the confidence under him. Don't throw both of them into a situation where they got to kick a 50-yarder or a 45-yarder, where, especially in the elements in where we're going to be playing in Jacksonville, could be a rainy one. We don't know what the weather's going to be like. So that's all things that play a factor into this. And you want to make sure that if you're going to trust them out there, you want to make sure that they're in the best possible position to succeed. So that's the thing where Minnesota on those 4th and 2s, maybe we start going for them. Maybe we just get a little aggressive, take an end zone shot at them instead of trying to get the 2 yards. So there's going to be a few things that Minnesota is going to have to work out. The chemistry is a major one. And I think part of that is going to be that first field goal that they hit is going to be the first step towards getting that chemistry just solidified. Obviously on the practice field is one thing, but once they're in a game, once that first kick happens, that's hopefully when the confidence starts rolling in.
Yeah, I completely agree there. You don't want to give them too much at once. And I guess if there is a kind of a good scenario, a good outcome from this, is that it's both happening at the same time early in the week, which is going to give them a nice run up until we actually see them in game action a full week. And hopefully we kind of got a bit of chemistry down then. I know this don't happen overnight, let alone a week. You know, we're going to have to still see a few weeks until we get it 100% down, but at least now, we're not seeing Will Reichard out, a new kicker, then a new long snapper come in a few days later or next week. We have it all at once, so hopefully we can kind of garner this chemistry in a short period of time and at least make it as good as it can be for the Minnesota Vikings in that sense. But it still will be, as you mentioned, a difficult challenge, especially in Jacksonville with the uncertainty of what might happen with the elements. But we do have a bit of positive news this week, so this is going to be good. We have a nice tight end being praised here. Not TJ Hawkinson, not Johnny Munt, but Josh Oliver, a guy that we normally don't get too much news, too much attention in the media, has been praised by Wes Philips. And this is obviously something that is always nice to see someone who his job out there is something that he hasn't been doing recently, but he's been doing more. And this is what Wes Philips had to say. The best blocking tight end in the league. Now, I completely agree with that as well. Josh Oliver, fantastic at blocking, but what we've seen last week, we've seen more out of him. We've seen him going yard, going with the ball, getting in the end zone, you know, having these first downs that we don't normally see Josh Oliver get. And it just goes to show, even with TJ Hawkinson back, even with Justin Jefferson, this Vikings team loves to use every single weapon that they have in any scenario. And the amount of weapons that they have, kind of going back to last video and what we were discussing, they have so many options that, you know, the defense can't really predict anything. And now, obviously, you can predict Jefferson's going to go for 100 every game. That's going to happen, but you can't stop that. But then you have every other weapon the Vikings have, including Josh Oliver, including the blocking tight end. This is something that we absolutely love to see from Wes Philips, from Josh Oliver, from the entire Vikings team. You got to give credit to Kevin O'Connell calling the plays. You got to give credit to Sam Darnold being able to get the ball to Josh Oliver. And you got to give Josh Oliver the credit for being willing to go and get that ball there and for a first down, for a touchdown, whatever you want to see from him, that guy can do. So what do you think about Josh Oliver, Griffen? I know it's a guy that we haven't given much love to on the channel, but is deserving of so much of it from his entire role on this Vikings team.
Yeah, it was great to see that the Vikings tight ends came out swinging last game. It wasn't just the TJ Hawkinson show. Everyone got involved, from Johnny Munt to Josh Oliver, and just how we spread the ball around. Everyone got a chance to eat. Everyone got a look. Everyone got a catch. So that was awesome that Minnesota spread the ball around like that, and it shows that that's how deep this team can be as we progress through the season. But I think with Josh Oliver as well, Minnesota over the games where they didn't have TJ Hawkinson to start the season, the tight end room was struggling. It wasn't really a factor in the passing game as much, but it was definitely helping the run game. But now that we have them going in the passing game, it's almost like they watched our last video where we were saying how just dismal, not dismal, but how concerning it was if they didn't have TJ Hawkinson. If we were rolling with just these two tight ends throughout the year as far as a passing standpoint, it would be a little bit concerning. But now they came out. Josh Oliver scored himself a touchdown on Sunday. So there's things that happen for these tight ends that are working, and it's bringing a lot of attention off of TJ Hawkinson. So you can find him open on some other things when that first read isn't available, or when they're just covering the check down on Johnny Munt.
Yeah, I love it. You know, having the ability for a player like this, who's not really his role, to go out and absolutely do it. You know, the Vikings have the confidence in him. It's something that is just going to build team chemistry all around the locker room. We see the post-game speeches from Kevin O'Connell after the wins. This team is such a tight-knit group, and especially with kind of everybody getting an opportunity in any given scenario, this is exactly what Vikings fans and us want to see. And really going forward in this season that we really weren't expecting, to say the least. So I'm very happy to see this, and I'm expecting a lot more over the coming weeks. The Vikings to get even tighter, even better, and just once the group kind of closes in and we get close to the playoffs, and hopefully that's where we end up being. This is going to be a very exciting group among a lot of talented teams that are going to shock a lot of people. So we're going to be keeping you guys up to date with all of that. But that's all we got in this video. Griffen, did you got anything else before you finish this one off?
Hopefully we can get another win in Jacksonville. It's going to be nice. It's going to be interesting to see how the week rolls around as far as the prep, any injuries that pop up, or anything else as far as just game prep. We know Cam Robinson's going into a revenge game against his former team right off the bat in his second game with Minnesota. So that's going to be a matchup that I'm going to be eagerly watching, is seeing how he goes up against his former defensive line. But other than that, I just hope that we feast, we just make Jacksonville pay, and then we just go out and get another W on Sunday. Yeah,
and as you mentioned, a lot of injury reports that we're going to have to cover here. A few other ones that we didn't talk about today that could sprinkle into a much bigger factor coming throughout the week. We're going to keep you guys up to date with all of that throughout the week heading into Jacksonville. But that's all we got in this video. If you did enjoy it, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. But we're signing out. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.